Hello, I'm Jonathan Smith from the Farm Carbon Calculator, and in this video I'm going to show you how to go through the calculator, how to assimilate your data, enter into the calculator, and then what it actually shows you in the end. So we're going to start off by going to the Carbon Calculator homepage, and we'll show you the process of creating an account, of logging in, and then collecting your data. So here we are on the calculator homepage. In the top right hand corner, you'll see the chance to where you can navigate your log into your account. So if you're not signed in, then here you'll see a register and a login button. You can sign up a free report there. It's very, very straightforward. So once you are logged in, you'll see just down below the photos and resources here. Start off, before you actually start entering data into the calculator, really recommend that you go to the resources page, which will take you to here. There's a whole number of things to help you here, but the most important one to start off with is this spreadsheet. So download this spreadsheet, which will help you to gather data in the correct way and in the right format so that you can start getting data ready to enter into the online calculator. So the spreadsheet looks like this. It gives you a little bit of guidance here on how to fill it in. Down at the bottom under the tabs, you'll see all the different stages that you need to assimilate all the data. So starting off with the farm details, what is needed, the details about your farm to kick off your report. And then it will go into the fuel section. So the key things to look out for quick guidance through this, anything background in red, we say is minimum standard, i.e. that you should do that if it's appropriate to your business. Obviously, most farms will have things like diesel and petrol and travel and electricity. And in this column here, where it says annual usage, and then the boxes with the black border, white box with black border, that's where you enter your data. So if we take diesel, for example, red diesel with the units of litres. So we're looking to enter how much we're using per year. And in this example, I filled it in to be 5,000 litres per year. So obviously just check your invoices from your suppliers and work out what it is per year. So go down the list and keep filling in data that's appropriate. So key point is, this is what is appropriate to your business over the past 12 months. Okay, really important rule of thumb. So keep going down through the data, and then when you finish that, go on to another tab. You'll see on this section, this is the materials page. I've just entered some detail about some steel we've used on the farm and some timber as well. Anything green is what we call best practice. So if you've got the data, enter it. If you can't find the data, don't stress too much about it at the moment. Maybe try and improve on it next time. The more data you have, the better your footprint will be in terms of accuracy and actually understanding where the footprint, what the footprint of your farm is and where the hotspots are in terms of emissions and indeed of sequestration. So there's a whole load of tabs here to fill in. As I say, what's appropriate to your business, it won't be appropriate to everybody's, okay? And finishes up with the sequestration. Just a note, if you're interested also, the references behind all of the factors are here. So for example, you look at fuel and you carry on going over, you'll find that that's where the source of the emissions factors are. And if you really want to, you can go and follow that on through. So that's there for transparency. So when you finish doing that, got your spreadsheet done, then you're ready to go back to the calculator. So we go back to the calculator homepage. You see a button here for Start Calculator. So you click on that, and this is where you can set up, once you set up your account, you can start a new report. So all the details that you need are on here, and then when you've done all that, then you simply click Save. One point to note about the scope of the study, this is quite important. So there's three different options here. Farm is basically everything that happens within the farm up to the farm gate. Distribution, so onward distribution included, or even right through to the point of sale, so to the final customer. There's no right or wrong. You can choose which one you do, but you need to be really clear about where the boundaries are for your farm. Okay, so what's in and what's out, because that's important for comparisons. Okay, so a bit of a navigation thing. I'm going to go up to my reports here because I've pre-populated this with some reports already. These are fictitious, but they're hopefully useful to actually understand. So you can create as many reports as you like, and they'll all reside here in my reports, okay? A little bit about the functionality here. So you've got different actions. So if you click on the report, it will take you straight to the actual carbon report, the final report. You can also do edits, so it'll go straight in to be able to edit some data here, okay? So that's a really handy function. Delete does the obvious, but make sure that you really do want to delete it before you do. And then a very handy function here is copy. So if, for example, my example farm, I wanted to do in a year's time, I could copy the entire report, and then I can just go through and work out what's changed, because some things will and some things won't. And you've already got that structure there. So that's a really, really handy function there. Okay, so let's dive into the report. I'm going to use example farm, and I'm going to click on edit so we can go through the process of actually entering data into the calculator. All right, so basic navigation of the page here. We have on the left-hand side the categories, which you can enter data. Okay, so you just simply click on ones and they all come up separately. Just a note, in order to fill them in, you can go in any order you like. Tend to recommend going sequentially, but if you want to do it in a different order, that's fine, as long as you remember what you filled in and where you've been. These all follow the order of the spreadsheet, and indeed, even when you fill in individual items, it all follows the order, okay? So it should be straightforward. You've also got this little toggle here. So it'll start off as black like that. When you've completed it, just toggle it green like that, so you know that you've done that whole section, okay? So in the middle here is where the emissions factors actually show up in terms of tons of CO2e and the percentage. Sorry, not the percentage, in terms of the actual data entry and the emissions from that. So if we click on this donut chart, it will tell us that actually 34% of emissions in this example are from red diesel, and that is just over 20 tons of CO2e. Okay, so you can immediately see the impacts when you've entered your data. Further down, it just totals everything up further down. And if you need to go back in and edit something you've already done, just simply click on the edit button there, and it will allow you to change that data. Or if you've realized you've done it wrong, simply delete the whole line. Okay. On the right-hand side, it tells you live results from different sections. So it totals up in real time where the emissions are coming from. So you can see immediately, okay, well, on this farm, 41% are from inputs. So that's chemical fertilizers and sprays, which is around 623 tons of CO2e. Okay, so it immediately tells you where the hotspots are. And it does the same with the offsets down the bottom there. So let's go through the data entry process. So always your navigation is this add new button when you want to enter data. So you simply click on that and it'll give you a drop-down list. Now, if we want to enter for example, liquid fuels, and then it gives you options there. We'll enter some road diesel in this instance, and let's put in 1,000 litres. Okay, you click on save, and it will then take you straight back to this screen when it loads. And then if we scroll all the way down the bottom, because it does it first to last, then we should see road diesel, 1,000 litres, 3.12 tons of CO2e. Okay, so it tells you right away in real time what it is. So essentially the process is transferring all that data from your spreadsheet into the online calculator, going through sequentially on the tabs, and it will just build up the picture of your carbon footprint minute by minute as you go through it. Once it's entered in there, it's saved. So if you need to come back to it at a later time, that's fine. It'll be in your reports to carry on with. Just remember which reports you've completed and which you haven't. And that's really handy using these toggle buttons to know whether you've completed it or not. So once you've completed the process, go through to view report, which you can also do at any time, but this is where it's all totaled up. So quick layout of the page. We've got different tabs going on here. So we'll start with the summary. Immediately tells you which sections you've completed. In this case, we've done the whole lot. So we know that we've got all the data we need in there and the report is complete. starts off with a nice big balance of the carbon balance, which is simply the emissions, carbon emissions, the carbon offsets, so things like sequestration in trees and hedges and soils, gives you the carbon balance. And in this instance, it's emitting 214 tons of CO2e per year, but only just. It's actually not far off carbon neutral. And this balance can go the other way. You can have a carbon negative farm as well, where it's sequestering more carbon than it's emitting. Down here, we've got a graph of different areas where there's emissions and sequestration. So immediately you can say, okay, look, there's the inputs, big area of emissions, as are livestock. And on the sequestration side, there's loads of organic matter going in the soils, and woodland is also really significant. And then a bit more detail, if we go down the bottom here, it basically gives you those figures in terms of tons of CO2e and percentage in a table format. So that often clients find that, users find that really useful to, obviously you could sort of screenshot that and use that to understand where the emissions and sequestration are on your farm. Further down the report, we've got the emissions by greenhouse gas type. So particularly the nitrous oxide and the methane is shown up here, which allows you to understand where the different emissions are for your greenhouse gases. And at the bottom here, we've got the scopes. So scopes 1, 2, and 3, and indeed outside of scopes. So scope 1 is direct emissions, things like burning diesel. Scope 2 is indirect, such as purchased electricity. And scope 3 is bought in items such as machinery, materials, animal feeds, fertilizers, a whole range of stuff. So basically emissions that happen outside of your business but need to be accounted for in your business. And Farm Carbon Calculator is slightly unique in actually including all scope 3 emissions, because we believe that's absolutely the right thing to do. So that is totaled up there. There's also a section here on yield, so you can understand what your annual yields are for crops and for livestock, milk, vegetables, whatever you've put in, entered your data, it'll total up all your yield here. And a little bit at the bottom about the area of the farm, the soil type, and the date of the report. If we scroll up a little bit further, you see some KPIs, key performance indicators. Quite handy little breakdown in terms of the carbon balance, and then per hectare, per ton of product, the fuel use, if you're going to dairy, the milk FPCM, fertilizer emissions, water, cubic meters per ton of product. So really useful KPIs when you can start to compare not just your own performance year on year, but against other farms as well. All right, just going through the other tabs here. Detailed summary. This is basically gets your emissions per section. So you can see all the different kind of sections here. You can expand that. It'll let you see where the emissions are in percentage terms and in tons of CO2e. And if you want to go into some more detail, you go to the full results and it will literally show you everything. So go into crops here, for example, it will show you what the data you entered was, what the tons of CO2e are, and the percentage of those emissions. Just a note on the right-hand side here, we've got a confidence thing. This is because some emissions, such as those from diesel, are very certain. So we would give those 3 ticks because it's simply fuel burnt. Whereas an agricultural emission, in this case, this is actually nitrous oxide from crop residues. Because it's a biological emission, there's a certain uncertainty with that, because it's really hard to understand how there are quite a lot of variables, okay? And so we are less confident in those, despite following recognized protocols and the latest science. We just highlight that there are some inherent variables and reduce confidence in those outputs. Here on the right hand side is a link. This takes you straight through to our Farm Carbon Toolkit. So if you want advice on how to do something about that particular emission, then you can go and follow that advice through. So back up to the top, and this nitrogen tab is a new one. So this actually tells you the nitrogen flows in your farm in terms of nitrogen in, nitrogen out, and the nitrogen balance. So really useful feature, and you can actually see where the nitrogen flows have come from, and it's all totaled up there. So that can be very, very useful management tool for your farm as well. And that was thanks to funding from WWF and was in conjunction with the Soil Association. So lastly, the features here at the top. You've got an edit data function that will take you straight back into allow you to change or add new data. Edit farm details simply is about the details of your farm, so whether that's the area, the soil type, the name, you can change that there. My reports, as described before, takes you back to the repository of all your reports. Download, you can have a PDF or a CSV of all your results. Share report creates a URL so you can share that with somebody else. It's like a token. They can't edit the report, but they can see it. So it can be really handy, but just remember, if you do send it to somebody, you can't recall that. They can see that report. And the only way they couldn't see it again is if you deleted it. So just be aware of who you send that to. Comparison is also handy. So any reports within my reports, you can make a comparison between two reports. So you might do that, for example, year on year. So example farm, maybe last year and this year, for example, you could see, okay, well, how have the emissions changed year to year? So that's really a quick run through of what the calculator can do for you. It's hopefully very straightforward to use once you've got the hang of it. We always say that one of the hardest bits is actually collating data in the first place, and it depends how well organized your results are. This can take anything from a couple of hours to a day or more. However, once you've done that process, the next time will be quicker. I can actually guarantee that, because you know where the data is. You've already collected some of the data, and actually, if you use that copy report function, you can some of your data is already pre-populated. You just go through and change it all. We've got loads more advice on our website, some FAQs, some guides, and if needed, we're here for some email support. Hope you find it really useful, and ultimately, this tool is about helping farmers and growers to reduce their emissions, and for agriculture as a whole to do something really positive for the climate crisis. So hope loads of you engage with this and find it a really useful tool.